feel like people have more trust in your average Joe nowadays than people in high places. I think this is quite common in YouTube as well, is where you have all these big boy podcasts, and the moment they become big, the moment they start getting those big subscribers, what ends up happening is they get those sponsorship deals. And I'm a big fan of Diary of a CEO, Chris Williamson podcast. Like I'm a very big fan of them. I think they're really inspiring, giving me a lot of motivation. The guests they bring on, I've learned so much. But I do feel like there's times when there's been an ad break during a podcast, and they're promoting a product, but they're almost doing it in a way where it seems authentic. It seems like the way they've structured it is as if they really like this product and they're just mentioning it because they like mentioning it. And it almost creates a lack of trust, because you're like, okay, well, are they paying this brand? Yeah, they're obviously paying you to promote the product, but you've worded it in a way where you're making it seem like you just like this product and there's no promotion. And that automatically does create a lack of trust, because then also what starts happening is all the things that were talked about in the video, which were worded in a sort of like tips and advice way, or makes you start to think, oh, okay, well, was that engineered? Was that real? Or was that fake? You know? Because it is a podcast. Makes you start to realize how much of that was engineered, or how much of that was just like natural. So you're getting value, of course, and it's free. You are getting that value, so it's not too much of a problem to worry about. But it does make you think. When you view a YouTuber with barely any subscribers and they're giving out a message, because I have done this, I'm always on the lookout for self-improvement videos. How can I add some sort of value to my life? These guys who have not got subscribers, they're not selling you anything. There's no product to sell. They're giving you value. It's dopamine free. It's simple value. They're trying to build their channel to give you value. It's almost like that's what the transaction is. But as soon as you get to these kind of higher levels, whether it's self-improvement, it could be anything. It's like the government. Like, as soon as you get to these higher levels, the lack of trust goes down significantly, because there's an agenda. There's always an agenda. But yeah, the government is a perfect example. Government used to be the people, if there's anything you need to know, or the news outlets, BBC, all of these sort of channels, that was where you got your news from. But the news is so fabricated nowadays that people don't trust it. There's such a lack of trust in these high places that people would honestly trust someone who's got no experience and just literally just talking just off the top of their head. They would actually trust that person more than someone in a high place. I think you're starting to see it in football channels as well. People would rather get their opinions from like a Specs Gonzalez, or like these sort of like, to be fair, that's a bad example. He's like a joke guy. That's why they watch him. But my point is, people would rather hear opinions on football from people that have nothing to say about football. They're not in the industry, or people would like to have opinions from people who are on the ground level. They don't necessarily want opinions from the people high up, because they know that their opinion or news is fabricated. There's always an agenda, a selling endorsement. And I feel like that's why anyone can make a YouTube video and give value out and get subscribers and grow, because everyone has a message to give, and people want to hear that message. Also, if you're viewing someone who has no subscribers, you know for a fact that they're not selling you a product straight away. There might be another agenda, but it's the chances of them selling you a product or the tips they give being fake is a lot less. It's as simple as that. And I know this for a fact, because I myself are always on the lookout for these sort of videos. And I find that if this person has too many subscribers, what ends up happening is you get the tips, you get the video tips, and then there's like an ad halfway through, and you're like, oh, okay, like, well, you're selling something, but what were you selling that tip before? You know, that thing that you magically mentioned, was that fabricated, or was that part of the video? Was that part of this? Was that you selling something, or was that an actual tip? It starts to blur the lines between what's real and what's fake. That's why I quite like the Jordan Peterson podcast, because he does a podcast, he talks about what he wants to talk about, and then for the ad break, instead of like actually promoting the product himself and going, oh yeah, you know, I actually like this brand and they're one of my favorite, instead of doing that, he just goes, right, ad break, this ad, this ad, and it's an ad, yeah, of course, but it's more authentic. It's more like, right, this is the ad break, you can skip this if you want, this is not me, this is the ad doing whatever. But in like the Chris Williamson and Steve Bartlett one, they make it a part of the podcast, like they're selling you something, but they're not really selling it because they like it so much. They make it in that sort of way. It kind of blurs the lines, and I have a lot of respect for them, but at the same time, it does kind of create a lack of trust as well.